Welcome to the Trada webinar, Facebook Ads, You Can Make Them Work. We are going to teach you how to like Facebook in 25 minutes. I'm going to go over just a couple of logistics before I introduce our excellent guest today. First of all, if you'd like to tweet the webinar, please go ahead and use the hashtag #LikeFacebookAds. If you tweet out something that you learned in today's webinar, something interesting that you learned from myself or my awesome guest, Chad Hacker, please go ahead and use the hashtag, and we will choose one of you at random and give you a $25 Amazon.com gift card, which you can use to buy yourself a nice present. Also, this is absolutely being recorded, and you will receive a copy of the slides as well as a video recording in your email later today. Finally, if you have any questions, please go ahead and type them right into the chat box, and we will get to as many as we possibly can at the end. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest today. This is Chad Hacker. He's the Director of Optimizer Enablement here at Trada, and he is a big-time Facebook ads expert, everyone.
Hey, everyone. Glad to be here and share some of my knowledge on the Facebook advertising platform. Hopefully, you all have a bunch of questions that you'll share with everyone, and you can leave here with a bit more knowledge on how to do effective Facebook advertising.
So we have a lot to cover today. It was really interesting putting together this presentation because this is our first webinar that's exclusively about Facebook, and there is so much to learn. Facebook is changing constantly, and there's just a great deal of potential. It's really exciting. So first of all, this is a number that I think will be very impressive to everyone. Facebook is going to serve 4 billion impressions today.
It's amazing. The number of people that are using Facebook worldwide is sort of surpassed anyone's expectations, and the opportunity for advertisers out there is amazing.
Yeah, so I mean, hands down, Facebook ads are the most versatile and targeted way to advertise online, and 800 million users.
800 million users. It's a staggering number.
So this is massive, and it does mean that there is a great deal of potential, but it also means that there are a lot of things that are scary about Facebook ads. So we're going to talk about a couple of the things that are scary, and then we're going to talk about how you can set up your campaign intelligently, how you can deal with some of these issues, and also about all of the different types of ads that you can use on Facebook. So first of all, one of the things that people really talk about with Facebook ads and with display advertising in general is banner blindness, sometimes called ad fatigue.
Yep. It's one of the biggest challenges that faces Facebook advertisers, and we have some solutions that we're going to talk about on how to effectively combat ad fatigue and make sure that you have an effective campaign running.
And next up, because this is basically display advertising, and because we have this problem of ad fatigue, you have to hire a graphic artist or have some sort of designer to make all of the ad creative, because part of the ad is an image.
Absolutely, and it can become very costly to businesses if they are running a long-term Facebook campaign to either acquire the images through some sort of stock photo company or to hire an in-house graphic designer that can turn out these very small images quickly and effectively.
Not to mention that a Facebook ads expert, the person who optimizes the campaign and builds the campaign, and the ad creative are probably two different people because those are two completely different skill sets. And so to have them work close together,
absolutely.
I'll
be the first to admit I don't have graphic design experience, so I rely heavily on our team of graphic designers.
Yeah, me neither. And then finally, you have this massive number, 800 million people, 4 billion impressions every day, and you have all of these incredible targeting tools. There's so many different ways that you can target, but how do you get your ads in front of the right people?
There's the big question. That's what we're going to talk about.
Yep, so we're going to talk about a lot of these things today. So before we kick off the educational portion of the webinar, I would like to do a quick poll. If you guys don't mind clicking right onto your screen to answer this question, do you advertise on Facebook? Are you a larger advertiser spending $20,000 a month on Facebook? Are you spending between 10 and 20K per month, spending less than 10K, or you're interested in trying Facebook? We suggest that most advertisers give Facebook a try. It's just, incredibly versatile, an excellent way to try display advertising. We'll talk a little bit about how Facebook advertising can be used as an assist for your other marketing activities.
Yeah, if you haven't made that leap and jumped into Facebook advertising, now is the time to start. Competition is still relatively low, so the sooner that you can get in, the more effective you can be.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about who sees your ads? How, who are these people out there who are seeing them? Let's talk a little bit about some of the glossary terms in Facebook. These are a little bit different from what you might be used to in different marketing channels like paid search. We're going to talk about what these things mean. So first off, connections.
Connections. So this is actually a grouping of anything action that happens on Facebook. So if somebody liked your page, if somebody RSVP'd to your event, if somebody downloaded an app, those are all sort of bundled into Facebook connections.
All right, and it is similar to a conversion. So the idea here is, we talked a little bit about this earlier, the whole 24 hours thing is almost like almost like placing a cookie on your page. They count this within 24 hours.
Absolutely. So very similar to a cookie. So if a user is on Facebook and sees your ad and, say, later goes to your page and likes it, Facebook will count that as a connection.
Okay, great. So let's move on to reach. Reach is the number of individual people, correct, who saw your sponsored stories or ads.
Absolutely.
Not the number of times they were seen.
So there is two metrics in Facebook. One is reach, and then they also have unique reach. And they're very similar to impressions. Unique reach would be unique individuals who saw your ads, and reach encompasses sort of the same number of people who may have seen your ads more than once.
Oh, okay. All right, so this slide is actually incorrect. So this should be unique reach, everyone. All right, and then we'll talk about social reach.
Social reach. So, Facebook is all about social friends and family and colleagues, and so it's the number of people who saw your sponsored story or ad because their friends liked your page or RSVP'd to your event or ad. So you have that sort of viral social growth going on with social reach.
Cool. And finally, let's talk about frequency. This is a really interesting metric, which I think is maybe unique to Facebook.
It is unique to Facebook. It is the average number of time each person saw your campaign-sponsored story or ads. So the likelihood is that most users will see your ad more than once, and this will help you determine how often the same people are seeing your ad, and it's a metric that you can use to sort of help combat ad fatigue.
Awesome. So one of the things I really like about Facebook ads is they actually give you a lot of tools to make yourself successful. And, of course, that is true in other channels as well. But given that Facebook is so complex, they really do help you out. Like, I think frequency is a really good example. They give you what you need to determine when your ads are showing too much.
Absolutely. The Facebook interface, the Ads Manager, is very user-friendly and very intuitive. So anyone can be successful with Facebook advertising.
All right, so let's actually talk about the different types of ad formats. One of the things that can be so daunting about Facebook is that there are so many different types of ads. We are actually going to cover all of them.
Absolutely. So this is probably the number one thing I hear from clients or people who are looking to do a Facebook ad campaign is all of the different variations on ad type and which ad type is best for my campaign and to reach my goals. So we'll sort of demystify some of the different ad types coming up.
Yeah, all right. So first of all, basic ads show up in a couple different places. You'll see this is actually my Facebook page right here. And you see right here where it says sponsored, where the arrow is pointing. All of these are basic ads. And we'll talk a little bit about what a sponsored story is in a couple of minutes, but this is your basic ad. So let's talk about the types. First up, we have a like ad.
A like ad. So this is probably the type of ad that most Facebook users are familiar with. You see them in your interface all the time when you're logged into Facebook. And this gives the ability for a user to like your page. And they can do it one of two ways. They can just hit the like button directly in that ad, or they can actually link and hit the link, which will take them to your Facebook page and like it from there as well. These are highly effective ads for growing your fan base and have very strong CTRs in Facebook.
Great. Let's move on to an event ad.
So there are a lot of businesses out there that are trying to promote different types of events. This is a very effective tool to get your event in front of the perfect target market. And this, again, allows them to RSVP to your event directly in the ad or to click to your Facebook page and RSVP there as well.
All right, awesome. Let's move on to an application ad.
Applications. So many of you have seen different types of applications that are available on Facebook. This type of ad will basically allow you to install an app, and an installation will fall into the connections bucket on Facebook, so you'll be able to track how many people are installing your application.
One of the types of applications that we're talking about here? Are these games? Are these all Facebook apps?
So there's different types of applications. There's lots of games out there. There's lots of dating applications. Basically, anytime you click on an ad and you get that permissions setting from Facebook that says, do you allow this app to access your information, that's an app.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to the final type of of basic ad, just a standard ad.
Standard ads. So these standard ads are actually external ads. So they will take the Facebook user from the Facebook space and take them to your website where you can have your conversion event built in. I recommend from a strategy standpoint, the more you can keep people in the Facebook space, the more effective your ad campaign is going to be.
That's definitely something that I've been hearing for a while. Facebook users want to stay inside of Facebook. Driving them, to an external website actually has been successful for some people, but if you can drive them to a conversion page, say within your Facebook page, which is actually something you can do, you may get better results.
Absolutely. So that's the big movement in Facebook right now is people are building conversion events into their Facebook page. And I believe in our webinar series we're going to talk about how to do that at a later webinar. So
yeah, we will. I'll show you guys a slide in a few minutes. We're having a webinar on January 19th, and I think we very well may cover building a conversion event into your own Facebook page. All right, let's talk about sponsored stories. Now, these are much newer than the standard types of ads, correct?
That is correct.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say sponsored stories are all about the sociability of Facebook and using friends and other social connections to help grow your successful advertising campaign.
And these can be incredibly valuable. They're almost seamlessly integrated into what you see here on Facebook. Here again, we have my Facebook page, and you can see that they go in a couple different places. They can go here in the sidebar under something called Sponsored Stories, and they can actually also show up in your ticker. Now, your ticker is the thing you see in the upper right-hand corner above your chat, and it has a sort of real-time, quick, what your friends are doing, what they're liking, what they're listening to on Spotify. That seems to be what I see in my ticker a lot. And I think something that's kind of interesting about this is Chad and I actually spent quite a bit of time yesterday trying to get a screenshot of a sponsored story showing up in the ticker, and we could not. So this is how much potential there is.
Absolutely.
Not a lot of people are using them. Probably.
Well, it's interesting that Facebook as an advertising platform is changing every day, and they're testing, new tools and performance, and moving sponsored stories to the ticker is something brand new that just happened a few weeks ago. So it's yet to be determined how successful that will be and how that will impact your overall advertising campaign. But just keep in mind, that Facebook is always changing and they're testing new things with their advertising platform.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and start talking about these types of sponsored stories. So first up, we have a page-like story. It can be a little complicated to understand what each of these types of sponsored stories are. So I took a screenshot of the type of story and then talked about kind of how it works. So let's talk about what a page-like story is.
So a page-like story, again, relies on the sort of social connections in Facebook to grow your campaign. So if I, as a user, like a page and it's running as a page-like story, my friends will see that I liked that page, and it's almost an endorsement that, oh, my friend Chad likes that, so I should like that too. Advertisers can really capitalize on the sort of endorsement aspect between friends and knowing that a lot of friends have similar interests and likes.
And so this is possibly more powerful than a targeted like campaign where we're saying, oh, you like this thing, so you might also like this thing. Here we're saying your friend likes this thing, so you may also like this thing.
And it's the whole sort of viral growth. I know that people use the word viral a lot, but it's true in Facebook advertising that, the more that you can get your ad out and friends of friends start to like it and friends of friends and friends start to like it, it really has a huge impact.
So one thing I think is worth noting here is that the only action a user can take on here is to also like Southwest Airlines.
Absolutely.
And that will have some importance in a moment. So next up, let's talk about a page post story.
So this is one of my favorites, actually. People spend a lot of time, putting content on their Facebook page, and unless that user, happens to be logged in at the time, they might miss some of that content. So this is an opportunity for you to take the content that you put on your Facebook page and put it out there in front of the, target demographic market so they can see what you're talking about. And then there's some interactions that they can take with that ad. They can share, or they can also comment, which is nice to get feedback as an advertiser.
All right, awesome. Let's move on to the page post like story. And actually, no, I'm going to zoom back just for a moment to show you again the page post story. There are a couple of other things you can do here. You can like it, you can comment upon it, and you can share it.
Absolutely.
And the same is true for the page post like story, which is slightly different from the page like story.
Slightly different. So page post like story ads, in order for you to create an ad like that, there have to be posts on your page that have been liked by users. So those are the only posts that are eligible to be put into a page post like story. So it's a very slight difference. But the more people that are liking your post and engaging with your content on your page, the more you can turn those into a page post like story and get them out in front of other people.
Now, I've heard some advertisers being concerned about this type of post because people can leave comments on it. And there is this idea that what if people are leaving negative comments? And I know that that is something that advertisers, it's a concern for advertisers, even just having testimonials on their site or having reviews on their site.
Sure. I think that's an understandable concern from advertisers. But the truth is that most people believe in or buy into a concept of an ad when there is a lot of interaction going on. So I would say embrace it, monitor it, and learn from it, and use that in your future advertising campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, I think brands and companies who are able to engage socially, even if it means sometimes responding to negative feedback, this is the future of advertising, people.
And one of the things I just wanted to add, Annie, you sort of talked about this, is Facebook is getting really smart about sort of disguising their ads into what a user would think is just actual content on Facebook. So they're more likely to interact and engage with these type of ads than sort of a traditional banner ad. So keep that in mind when you're deciding which ads are going to work best for your campaign.
The ones that integrate sort of more seamlessly and seem more like just kind of news of
there you go.
In your news feed. Some people might call this insidious. All right, moving on. Let's talk about an app used and game played story.
So again, focusing on the viral growth, if one of your friends uses an app or plays a game, you'll see a post in your ticker or in your ad area on your page, and it'll say, Chad Hacker just used this app or downloaded this app or played this game, and then my friends might go, hey, that sounds like an interesting game to play. Maybe I should play that too. So capitalizing on that growth again.
This seems like one of those situations where the ad creative is really, really important.
Absolutely. I think the ad creative is extremely important across all Facebook advertising. It's a very small image, so it has to be impactful and resonate with the user.
Like right here, I see Glory of Rome, but I don't even really know what that is. I feel like they could have used a better image. Moving on, let's talk about an app share story. Now this is interesting because it has this date range on it, the last 7 days.
Last 7 days. So again, it's very similar to the previous ad that we discussed, but it's within a 7-day window, and it allows you to use an app and then share it with your friends.
And there's a conversion event in this example, and it's Get Tickets. I think the app here is Eventbrite. I'm trying to figure that out. I believe it is. And there is actually a conversion event right from this ad, which is to get tickets. That's cool. Let's talk about a check-in story.
So everyone's familiar with check-in, whether you're using Foursquare or Facebook to check in. This allows advertisers to capitalize on those that are checking in and turn those check-ins into ads. And again, viral growth, so my friends can see where I'm at. They may want to come visit me, and if they're down the street, they might want to come to Starbucks and have a cup of coffee with me. So, advertisers can leverage that ability to let friends know where you're at. Yeah,
I almost think this has even more sort of social clout than liking something. If I'm at Starbucks, I definitely like it.
Absolutely. Starbucks wants all your friends to come and have coffee with you.
Yep. So finally, let's talk about a domain story. This one is pretty interesting because there are a lot of different types of things that can be included within a domain. So, in this example, Mike liked or shared content that came from your website or pasted a link from your website on his wall. So this is cool. This comes from outside of Facebook.
Absolutely. So you can go and interact with, different advertisers on their website, and if you like content and you want to bring it into Facebook and share it, you can do that, and this ad will capitalize on that and continue to show that to friends of friends.
Excellent. So these are actually all of the types of sponsored stories that we were going to talk about today. I actually did see a question earlier about whether this was including the premium ads. Now, Chad and I were talking about whether to include premium ads. One thing about premium ads is they're actually not available to the public.
Right. So premium ads is something that probably most people are familiar with. You've probably seen them in your Facebook page. Those are only available through Facebook directly, and they have a fairly large minimum monthly spend to access premium ads. Premium ads have some more interactions built into them, and you get better placement with premium ads, but you do have to spend $25 a month and work directly with Facebook to get those ads. They're not yet available to third-party providers.
Okay. So, guys, I'm seeing a ton of questions come in about, which ad types are right for you, what type of targeting is right for you. We are having a webinar on January 19th where we will go much more in-depth on a lot of these Facebook topics. I'm looking at a lot of the questions coming in, and we will try to address as many of them as we can, but I'm getting a lot of content ideas for webinars coming up. This is just, Facebook ads are always changing. It seems like it's difficult to find information online about Facebook ads, partly because, they are, the rules are always changing. There are always new types of things. So we are going to do a lot of Facebook content going forward. If you're interested in being automatically subscribed to webinars going forward, please just go ahead and type sign me up into the chat box, and we will sign you up for our webinar series where we cover a lot of Facebook content as well as online marketing content. So next up, let's talk about the complexity and potential of targeting. Now, I feel like this could be a 3-hour webinar in itself, and we will go a little deeper on this in future webinars, but I want to talk just a little bit about how there are so many different ways that you can target ads in Facebook.
This is I think the most amazing thing about the Facebook advertising platform is you can really dial in your ads to the perfect target market. And it's the first platform of its kind where you can target based on all of these different traits and profiles and demographics and learn a lot about your customer base. The one thing I would say before anyone launches a Facebook campaign is go into it knowing what your goals are, and that will help sort of define the best way to target.
Now we're going to massively oversimplify some tips here when we talk a little bit about how to target, but we want to give you guys some actual valuable tips before you get started. So here are a couple of things to really focus on when you are thinking about targeting. So one is narrowing your audience. You have so much potential to narrow your audience to just something that could be so niche, which is so interesting. But then at the same time, thinking outside the box, because this type of nonlinear thinking about where you target your ads can be so powerful on Facebook, and there's basically nowhere else that you can do it like this.
Absolutely. Incredibly effective to think outside the box. I want to give one quick example. I know we have some other ones, but we recently did a campaign for a wine company. So they were looking to sell wine online, and there was an optimizer that was sort of thinking outside the box and doing nonlinear targeting and targeting cigar lovers. So maybe not the most obvious thing, but that ad was highly successful and generated a significant amount of conversion. So the more you can think outside the box, I think the more successful you'll be with your advertising campaign.
And, because Facebook feedback, click-through rates and conversions are so immediate, you can see what's working and what's not working, and you can test so many different things. It's
Absolutely.
Super cool. So let's talk a little bit about narrowing down your audience. So we have 800 million users here. You want to get it down to a small number of targeted users.
You don't want to target all 800 million?
I mean, maybe if you're selling something that everyone loves.
It's definitely best to narrow down your target. And depending on what type of business you have, that's going to be a little bit different. If you're a national business, you're going to have a different sort of target than if you're a local business. The nice thing about, Facebook advertising as a platform is they provide opportunities for both. So local business, regional business, and national business or international businesses.
So I'm going to talk just a little bit about a nonlinear thinking targeting strategy that we've been talking about a little bit. So this is just a sort of little exercise in thinking outside the box. So let's say that you sell golf clubs. There are a couple of obvious choices here. You can sell to Nick. This guy loves golf. It says golf right there on his profile.
Right,
he loves the
profile.
PGA. Tiger Woods is his favorite. He loves Dave Matthews Band.
Most obvious, yes.
And then next up we have a slightly less obvious target. So this is Barbara. It actually doesn't say golf anywhere on her profile, but she does like the Palm Beach Country Club. So this would be an interesting thing to kind of try.
The country club has a golf course, so she might golf a lot.
Maybe she wants to buy golf clubs for her husband. And then finally, this is my favorite example. This is Chaz. He doesn't have the word golf anywhere on his profile, but he loves Glengarry Glen Ross, and he loves all of these famous sales books. This is actually a guy who plays golf for a living.
Absolutely. He's a sales guy.
Yeah.
He's taking clients to the golf course all the time.
So this is something that, if you were to use like an algorithmic tool, wouldn't really be able to figure out this type of targeting. So this is why it's best to have, a human mind working on this. This is something that we just came up with in the room one day, and I think it's quite clever.
There you go.
So, finally, you should try the obvious targets. We're not saying that you should not market your golf clubs to people who like golf. But if you think about it, and actually we might talk about this a little bit later, Facebook's pricing is based on a couple different things, and one of them is the targeting. So targeting golf clubs to people who like golf could actually be more expensive per click than targeting golf clubs to people who like sales books.
Absolutely. So you've just sort of tapped into how to effectively get a lower cost per click. The more you think outside the box and the more you target a sort of niche market, the less your cost per click is going to be.
So you win in a lot of different ways. You get net new, customers or leads or sales that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise, and you could be paying less.
There you go. It's a win-win.
Very powerful. So let's talk a little bit about campaign organization tips. Now, one thing about Facebook is that it seems like it can be a little bit difficult to organize.
Absolutely. So I'm really excited to talk about this sort of next little segment. This is sort of some of the early mistakes I made in optimizing Facebook campaigns, and useful information for people who are new to Facebook and want to get their campaign set up correctly.
All right. So we do a lot of paid search here at Trada, and so it can be sometimes very tempting to compare Facebook ads to paid search all the time. We promise we won't do this on any other slide, but if you are familiar with paid search, this will kind of help you to understand how to organize your account. If you are familiar with paid search, you know that you should organize your ad groups into very small, thematically relevant keyword lists and keep them very small and keep them very tight, and that is and that's the best way to have an impeccable paid search campaign. The same is true with Facebook, but here they're called campaigns, and it's all under the umbrella of the account.
So here is my first mistake that I made when I was first starting to use Facebook advertising, is I would throw just a whole bunch of stuff into a campaign, and based on the data that was coming back, I had no idea which way to go. There were so many variables, and if I remove this like, will that make an impact? If I add this like, if I change this age, if I do. So I learned very quickly that, as Anna was mentioning, to have very tightly themed campaigns.
Yep, keep them small, keep them tightly themed, and this will also help you to be able to test properly. One tip that Chad was mentioning earlier is don't put all your segmented target ad groups into one campaign, because your ads are competing inside the campaign.
Absolutely.
And then I think you also mentioned something about Facebook's serving algorithm may starve out certain ads.
So there is a lot yet to be learned on Facebook's serving algorithm, but based on what I've been able to see through my own experience is if you put too many ads within a single campaign, there are some ads that are going to start performing, and the other ones will be starved out. They'll never see the light of day. They'll never get an impression. It's something that, for me, is totally unknown with how Facebook is determining which ads to serve, but keep that in mind that within any given campaign, you should be testing 3 to 4 ads at most.
All right, good to know. And then finally, how do you know when to swap out that ad creative?
Ad fatigue. So anyone that has done Facebook advertising before know that ad fatigue can kick in very quickly, sometimes in as little as 2 days. So it's important to monitor your click-through rate on your ads, and when you see it start to decline, that's when you should submit some new ads that will first go through the Facebook approval process, but get them out there before the ad has totally died and people are not clicking on it.
And Facebook ads take about a day to approve, sometimes only a few minutes, sometimes up to a day?
Yeah, so Facebook's official statement is about a day, but what I've noticed is it's getting much quicker, so I don't know if they have more people in the editorial review process, but generally if I submit an ad, it's approved within 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, I've seen
so
them
pretty quick.
Approved very quickly. I've also heard that submitting them at certain times of day can...
So one of the interesting things about the editorial review process at Facebook is that it's actually done by real people. So this is not an algorithm, it's not a computer. So depending on what type of day you're submitting your ads, they may get approved or disapproved. We had some examples with a client that I had worked with that was out of Vegas.
I was hoping you would tell this story.
They were sort of a nightlife company out of Vegas, and we were using some not totally risque, but some images of saucy photos, perfect way to put it. And I had submitted those, during the day, during the business day, and they were all declined. I wanted to test it, and so I resubmitted those at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and they were approved. Not saying that's the best way to do things, but just pointing out that there is some variance and some subjectivity in terms of who's reviewing your ads and what gets approved.
Maybe 1 a.m. is cocktail hour at the Facebook review headquarters.
Perhaps.
All right. So I think we may end up changing some of the content in our next webinar based on all the questions you guys are asking. But we will absolutely talk more specifically about what types of companies should use standard ads and what sponsored stories you should use in our January 19th webinar. Some hyper-targeting tips. How to measure your Facebook ROI. One thing that I think is misunderstood about Facebook is that you actually can measure everything in Facebook. And maybe it's because that's relatively new. I mean, it was difficult to measure things in Facebook a year ago.
Sure. I think part of effectively measuring your ROI is what I stated before. You're going into it with a clear set of goals and sort of outcomes that you hope to achieve. So that's going to go a long way into measuring your ROI. And then some of the things I'm really excited about is in our future webinars, we're going to talk about some of the things that Facebook is currently testing that may not be available to the public just yet, but soon will be. Some of the downstream conversion testing that they're doing and some of the ways that they're changing how you can bid. All very exciting stuff. The new bidding. So we'll be talking about that in future webinars.
This is exciting. Everyone, you have been giving us some excellent questions. We will get to them in just a moment. If you have any more questions, please type them directly into the chat box and we will get to them. First, we're going to take 2 minutes to talk about how Trada can help you with Facebook ads. So believe it or not, Trada can help you run your Facebook ads, and it doesn't cost any more than if you were to do it yourself.
Absolutely.
We have a massive community of Facebook ads experts and ad creatives who do all the work for you. So multiple of these Facebook ads experts work on your campaign at the same time, along with ad creatives. You get very intuitive hyper-targeting that comes from humans, marketing golf clubs to Chaz the sales guy. You get constant optimization because they work for you, and this is what they do. They have time to constantly log in. And you get essentially free ad creative.
Free ad creative.
Which combats ad fatigue.
This is unheard of in the marketplace right now. Anyone that has, done advertising on their own or worked with maybe an agency, that there is additional cost to get creative. We have taken our community approach that we have used on search and applied that to Facebook and introduced a new element, which is our community of creatives. They're all graphic designers that work on campaigns in conjunction with our certified experts.
It's pretty amazing, and believe it or not, there are no fees to have access to our certified experts and ad creatives, and you can get started right away. So if you're interested in having a Trada demo, please go ahead and type "I'd like a demo" right into the chat box, and we will get that set up for you later today. Just a quick little example of what we have done for a company here. This is called KP Elements. They ran a Facebook campaign with us. Very, very, very successful. incredible campaign stats. Because of our unique ability to combat ad fatigue and our hyper-targeting, they increased their click-through rate by 142%, and they had a 45% cost per click improvement. The best thing about it, too, is that we took this completely out of their hands, and now they spend, 30 minutes a week managing the campaign from a high level instead of 10 hours a week.
Absolutely. So I've had a lot of conversations with Bill. We worked very closely on the campaign. He was clearly stressed managing the campaign himself. It took a lot of time, a lot of resources. He brought that campaign to us, and we were quickly able to improve on his performance, what he was able to achieve, and then blew it out of the water with our results. So it was a pretty amazing experience.
Yeah, awesome. I love this company. All right, guys, we are ready to take your questions. If you will give me just one moment to get organized here. A ton of excellent questions coming in. And if you still have some, we will get to as many as we possibly can in about the next 15 minutes. All right, so I'm going to hand this first one off to Chad. This is a question we get a lot in search, and I think it may be slightly subjective, but I think you can probably help us out with this. Will you share some guidelines as, for example, what is a strong click-through rate? And let's start with that.
Okay, so it's a very good question, and I want everyone to be clear that the click-through rates in Facebook are different than search. And it's important to have an understanding about that going into it. What we found is anywhere from a 0.1 to a 0.4 is a really, really strong click-through rate. Even you can go as low as, say, a 0.08, and those are still really strong click-through rates. You have to remember that this is being, when you think of the number of potential people that are seeing your ads, you can't expect to have the same click-through rate that you would have on, say, a search campaign.
Keep in mind that this is display advertising.
Absolutely.
This is completely different from search advertising.
Absolutely. The more experience you have and the more you sort of learn from your testing and data, you will see your click-through rates go up.
And the more you swap out your ads,
yep.
Right? So Daniel actually has another question, too, which I think is, a good one. What images work best on Facebook? Do you have any tips for have you seen patterns, pictures of cute girls?
Absolutely. So I will tell you that my experience has been that traditionally logos do not work well. People like to see images of people. But one of the other things to keep in mind is the ad size. So we're talking about 110 by 80 pixels. It's a very, very small ad size. So you want to make sure that the image that you're creating is effective in that small size. What I see a lot of advertisers doing is they'll take some other sort of creative or collateral material that they've used in other advertising
and shrink it down.
And all of a sudden you can't make out what it is. It feels cluttered and unclean and does not resonate with the user base. So make sure it's formatted for the size, go for the social element, show pictures of people, and you'll be more successful.
Excellent. So Kiko has a question about frequency. In your own campaigns, do you have a preferred or optimal frequency that you shoot for, and is this something that, helps you determine how you run your campaign?
It's a very good question. Some of the studies out there sort of allude to ad fatigue kicking in around 2.4 times. So 2.4, once the user has seen an ad, say, more than twice, they're less likely to engage with that ad. So keep that in mind when you're figuring out how often to submit new images. If your frequency is at 6, 7, 8, you're sort of dead in the water. Your ads are not being clicked on. The users aren't interacting with them. So keep it small.
All right, good to know. Ben has a really interesting question. Does Facebook charge for app ad clicks if the user clicks but then declines the authorization permissions?
Yes, they do.
So they're charging for the click. I mean, in many ways, this is charging for a click but not getting the conversion.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same across all of their sort of social ads. So if you have a like ad and they click and go to your Facebook page and don't actually hit the like button, you still get charged for that click even though the user didn't become a fan of your page.
Or if they like it but then immediately unlike it, you still have to pay for that.
You still have to pay for it. It's one of the challenges with Facebook right now, and hopefully they get a little bit smarter about offering some sort of conversion payout model where you can pay on an install, but not available yet.
So I have a question. Anna has a follow-up question to that.
All right, Anna.
Are there any issues with click fraud, and does Facebook address click fraud?
So Facebook, I've interacted with the team at Facebook a lot. They do have an entire department dedicated to click fraud. We have not come across it in any of the campaigns that I've worked on, but know that they have a sophisticated fraud detection team there that are monitoring your campaigns.
All right, good to know. That's interesting. So we answered that one.
I'm going to actually follow up a little bit on that because click fraud is more difficult to produce in Facebook. On search, you can go and search for terms that you know are used and click on the ads that way. You can't do that in Facebook. You can't just go search for something and make that ad appear. It's being served in a different way.
Okay. So it's a little different. Jonathan has a question about the new timeline. How will the new timeline affect the ads, and for that matter, how will the timeline affect business pages when they switch business pages to the timeline design? Are iframes in Facebook dead? What a dramatic question.
It's a very good question, and I got to be honest, I am just getting up to speed on this new timeline. I just was sort of reading a bunch of articles about it this morning. It's yet to be determined how it's going to affect ads or businesses that switch to this new timeline. I have to believe that Facebook hopefully has been testing this and has some data on it, but I'll be the first to admit I'm still learning about this, so maybe we can table that for a future webinar and I can get up to speed on the new timeline.
Let's talk about this on January 19th. I hope we'll see you there, Jonathan. So I'm going to be respectful of everyone's time and just take a couple more questions. There's so many good questions rolling in. Mike wants to know, any recommendations or specific strategies to B2B marketers through Facebook? So I can talk a little bit about this and then Chad, if you want to jump in. One of the things that I think is incredibly powerful about Facebook is that for less than you would probably pay to buy, say, a list to market to, which, like a cold list that you buy from, whoever you buy lists from, Hoovers, you can generate likes, which is basically an engaged user that then you can go on to market to. So there are actually a lot of things that you can do on your Facebook page. You can have a squeeze page with an offer that allows people to like you. You can actually have a lead form right on your Facebook page. There are a lot of different ways to sort of create fans who then become leads to nurture to.
So really, really important stuff. It sort of goes to the value of a fan, and so many studies are out there right now about fans are much more likely to take some sort of action. Whether it's a download or a purchase or a sign up, get them as fans first, and then they're much more likely to take that action. But the other strategy for B2B is Facebook allows you to target people who work at certain businesses. So if you have businesses in mind that you want to target who might take advantage of whatever service you offer, you can target those people directly. Very, very effective way for Facebook advertising B2B.
So like, for example, we're Trada. We're looking for marketers at companies that have, that are a certain size. We are looking specifically often for digital marketers or for decision makers in the digital marketing space, and Facebook allows us to directly target those people.
Absolutely.
Not only that, we can target people in specific verticals. So I can say, I want to find out who the marketing decision maker is at a law firm, and then create an ad that's like, marketing for your law firm. It's so powerful.
Absolutely.
We are a B2B lead generation company, so I have some experience with this. Do you have anything to add?
No, just that you can go as granular as you want. Like if you are targeting, say, law firms, you can get a list of the top 50 law firms in the United States and target each one of those individually. So anyone that has put on their profile that they work at, X law firm will see that ad. Very, very effective.
Very effective. Another question from Jonathan, and Jonathan, we will talk more specifically about which companies should use which type of sponsored story in our next webinar on January 19th. But Jonathan wants to know what sort of company should use a page post story. How news or breaking does the news need to be to grab attention and get a conversion? So maybe he's also asking what type of things should you post on your page if you're running these types of ads.
So the stats that are out there for a page post story, the type of businesses that are most successful with them are entertainment businesses, news businesses. So those are the type of businesses that are using them most successfully. I think what you want to do if you're not one of those type of businesses is you want to have some sort of emotional connection. You want to give people a reason to click on it. You know, one of the best examples I can think of is we did a campaign for a company called Billion Dollar Brows. And they're a company out of LA, and they offer a sort of brow shaping product.
They actually, it's like Rogaine for your brows. If, like me, you don't have enough eyebrows and you want more,
But
you can put this stuff in, it helps you grow new eyebrows. Isn't
there
that
you go.
true?
It's true. It's absolutely true. They had done a page post story ad where they were offering some sort of discount or incentive to vets who were coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq. And so there's a little bit of an emotional connection there, and they turn it into a page post story and had very high click-through rates with that type of strategy.
Wow, that's really interesting. All right, guys, I'm going to take one more question, and then we're going to wrap up. Cheryl wants to know, is there advertising on Facebook Mobile?
So it's something that they're testing right now. I'll be the first to admit, I don't know that it's been released to the general public. I know that through our relationship with the team at Facebook, it is something that they're testing, and sort of we're putting our hat in the ring as something that we want to offer to our clients. But I don't believe it's yet available to the public.
All right, great. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. And Chad Hacker, our excellent guest today, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, it was a pleasure. I hope you all have some takeaways that you can be more comfortable with Facebook advertising. And please, if you want to learn more, set up a demo. I'll be happy to show you all that we can do.
Everyone, you still have a couple minutes to tweet using the hashtag and have the opportunity to win that $25 Amazon.com gift card. Sarah, excellent marketing intern, if you would please type the hashtag in so everyone knows what it is. I really hope I'll see you guys on January 19th for our next Facebook webinar, where we will go much more in depth on which ads you should use, how to do targeting, bid optimization.
I'll be there. I hope you all will be too.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. This is the end of the webinar.